give yourself grace, okay? Even though I keep pushing, like, go after your dreams, why wait? But also give yourself grace. You know, life is hard and everybody's going through something. And you sometimes actually, you have a right to give yourself permission, to give yourself grace.
Hello, everyone. I am Melissa Forziat of Take the Doughnut, here to help you get inspiration and get donuts. I'm a motivational keynote speaker, and today I'm bringing you a Take the Doughnut interview with Maureen Francisco. I'll tell you a little bit about Maureen. She is the author of It Takes Moxie, as well as a speaker, host, and the co-executive producer of Northwest Productions. Welcome, Maureen. Welcome to your Take the Doughnut interview.
Hi, Melissa. Thank you so much for having me.
So great to have you. And, before we get into any more serious questions, let's just start with a simple one of what's your favorite donut?
Okay, so even though that question is so simple, what is your favorite donut? I ended up really pausing to think, and I realized it's chocolate. But when I eat a donut, it's one of those foods where I actually think, like, do I prefer to eat a donut or do I eat a meal instead? I don't know why with that particular food, I think about donut or something else. And then I think about, if I eat that donut, do I want to do squats or do I want to run on the treadmill? And I realize not only with food, but I do that with other aspects of my life. I think about, when I make a choice, how does that lead to other decisions in my life?
Ooh, that's a really interesting way to set up this entire conversation. Actually, I love it. Well, before we get into that, I said a little bit about who you are up front, but tell us more about yourself. What should we know about you?
So I'm the co-executive producer of Northwest Productions, where we produce the state pageant qualifiers to Miss USA and Miss Teen USA for Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. We've been doing that for 21 years. And that job not only entails producing a pageant, but also writing the letter of recommendations, attending to so many weddings. I've been to 2 weddings just last month, one in Italy, one in Oregon, baby showers, graduations, you name it. And also the co-founder of the Global Beauty Award Show, where we produce an event that brings together industry experts in the pageant and beauty industry, and we celebrate one another. So you've heard of the Oscars celebrating actors, the Grammys, musicians, the ESPYs, athletes, but we didn't find an event that celebrates a pageant community at the international level, where you have peers who actually vote on each category and select which colleague they feel is doing exceptional work. So our award show is coming up on April, the last weekend of April, and that will be our 7th annual. And I pinch myself just thinking about that.
What a huge undertaking, and what an exciting way to celebrate a community that's really important to you. So I love that.
Yes, and I met, again, so many amazing people through the pageant community. I shared with you, I was just at 2 weddings last month. On average, we get invited anywhere between 5 to 8 weddings a year because of the pageant community.
Oh, that's so special. It's nice to hear that you keep it thriving and active, and through some of the things that you're doing, you're keeping everybody very close knit.
Yes, yes.
Well, I think that you've already set this conversation up, but just to give everybody an idea what we're talking about here. So this is a Take the Doughnut interview, and Take the Doughnut for me is an expression that means carpe diem. And I'll link a video here, but it came from this strange thing that happened to me in college, where I left an actual donut on a table, and that became a symbol for me of a missed opportunity. And that I want to stop doing that. So for me now going forward, I want to take the donut. I want to seize the opportunities that come my way. And with that in mind, this conversation is all about what it looks like, practically speaking, to go after opportunities in life and the experiences that we all have with that. So Maureen, let me ask you this to start us off. When it comes to going after goals, how are you with that? What is your process?
When I go after a goal, I really think about the results, the process, and also how I'm going to incorporate that into my life. Like if I write something down, I'm very intentional about making sure I follow through. That's why I won't just write a goal for the sake of writing a goal. I really am intentional about it. So I'm one of those people, I write something down, I'm going to go after it. And the goals are broken down career-wise, personal-wise, friendship-wise, because sometimes when we think of goals, we often just think of career or status, but it's more than that. There's so many different buckets. I also think about my physical goals. How am I going to make sure, that I stay in shape? With my friendship goals, who are the roots in my life? I say the word roots. Who are the ones who are going to stay there regardless of what season I'm in? They are there, they're my foundation, and have I poured into them. My family, how am I blessing and taking care of my family? The family goals are broken down into my husband's goal and my son's goals. I have a son. He's very driven right now in sports, specifically wrestling. And it seems right now during wrestling season, every weekend we're at a tournament. So I want to make sure I'm there for him. And then I also have my career goals. Where do I want to take Northwest Productions? What other business ventures do I want to scale and add into this company? So again, when I look at a goal, I write it down and think, how am I going to achieve it? And how is that going to blend into my other buckets that I already have?
I like that you break it down into the categories. I think a lot of us have this idea of what balance looks like, but don't necessarily plan for that in a way that is as organized as what you're doing. And so it's hard to achieve. But I think if you've actually broken down goals by category in that way, you kind of know what you're aiming for in all aspects.
Yes. And also, if let's say something is happening in a specific bucket that's outside of your control, your whole identity is not in that bucket, right? You have other buckets or plates or interests that can help you during the different seasons of life, because life is like this, up and down, up and down, up and down. So you just want to make sure that that your plate is full and you're not focusing everything on one thing, because what happens if that one thing is gone, then you feel like your identity is gone. So I'm really very intentional. I love to use that word intentional about the different categories, the different people, and the different goals that I have.
Beautifully said. Well, when you start with a goal, what keeps you motivated along the way, especially if you're undertaking something that feels really big and it's going to take a lot of time or a lot of effort or maybe new connections or skill building? What keeps you motivated in that process?
So I asked myself, why did I even begin this goal? And what is my why? Because when you achieve any goal, it gets really, really hard and you have to dig in and ask yourself, why didn't I even do this? And what is the purpose? So you have to find the why, the purpose, and you have to keep moving forward, because otherwise, like, tell me one goal that's been easy. Can you think of any goals that's like, that was easy, that was a piece of cake, right? Can you think of one, Melissa, in your life?
Yeah, that's a hard time. I pick really big ones. Yes. I think, yeah.
And I'm going to go back to physical. I've said that a couple of times. Why I put so much emphasis on that is because health is so important. If you don't have your health, it's really hard to do all of the other goals. And that's what I've realized. Your health is so important that you have to really take care of yourself. Are you eating enough? Are you sleeping enough? Are you moving your body? Are you just enjoying life? That's all part of the physical element. And if you can take care of that, then you can do the other goals in your life. And so if I don't want to go to the gym, again, I'm going to go back to my why. Why am I doing this? Because my body's my temple. I'm taking care of myself so I can pour it into the other goals that I have. So let's say there's a goal when it comes to my job and it's really tough and I don't want to do it. Again, I take a layer back and I peel it and I go, why am I doing this? Oh, yes, it's because there's bigger goals behind that goal. So again, everything goes back to why, and to not do it means I remain stagnant. So in life, we are given choices. It's hard sometimes with choice one, and it's also hard with choice two. So I tell people, which hard do you want to choose?
Ah, well said. A good question to pose. So knowing that a lot of times challenges come up along the way, planned or unplanned, how have you found that there are any specific types of challenges that just keeps coming up for you no matter what your goal is or what you're trying to tackle? Is there a specific brand of challenge that seems to always rear its head?
So have you ever found yourself like you have this wonderful goal, it's going to bless a lot of people, and you see the vision of how it will impact a greater good? When I have those types of goals, I see a lot of attacks. And when I say attack, it might mean there's a meeting that was supposed to happen and that meeting falls apart, right? Or a certain vendor I'm working with, and then all of a sudden the vendor goes MIA. Whatever it is, whatever that big goal that you have, you are going to face those challenges. And then when you are faced into the challenge, you ask yourself, okay, can I fix this? And if I can, then fix it. But if I can't, can I have someone who has wisdom and more experience who I can lean in and ask them advice on how to fix a problem? And that's why, again, I talked about the different buckets I have. I also have my friend buckets. Those friends are sharp people. They might be skill set in law, in health, in business, whatever industry it is, I will lean in on them. But overall, they're people I want to hang out with because they're doing great things in life. They're also people who want to make a big impact in this world. So to answer your question, we're always going to be faced with challenges. And when we are faced with challenges, because it's going to happen, you ask yourself, well, let me take a step back. Can I really fix this? If I can, let me just fix it. But if I can't, let me lean in on somebody else's wisdom and ask them, what would they do in the position that I'm in? So
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah, your network seems to be a very important piece of what you do.
Yes, because the author of my book, the foreword who wrote the foreword of my book, her name is Dr. Connie Mariano. She was the former White House doctor to 3 US presidents. And I remember her telling me, in life, we either get scared or we get strong, right? It's one or the other. So when we are faced with challenges, we either let all the fear and all this negativity happen, or we figure out a solution, be strong, and keep the momentum happening. It's either one or the option. I always think, well, what's your other option? Do nothing or find a solution.
Absolutely. Well, I'm very curious what's going to come to your mind when I ask you this. So what would you say is the biggest donut you've ever taken? And it could be from any of the buckets that you've been talking about today.
So I think the biggest donut that I've ever taken was probably, I was working at a startup company, and my husband calls me, we were just newly married, and he said, would you either like me to hire somebody just like you with your skill set, with your personality? Or do you want to take that leap of faith and do this business with me? That was a very big donut for me, because I was like, whoa, I'm going to leave this startup company that I've been with for the past couple of years and then take the leap of faith with something I've never done. I've never had a business with my husband at that time. And I was like, and we're just newly married. Wow, that's a lot. And I took that leap of faith, and I have zero regrets. And I don't advise it for everybody who's married to work with their spouse. For some people, it does work. And for others, it doesn't work. Because I will tell you, when you work with your spouse, date nights kind of go away. Because when you are supposedly doing date night, sometimes work creeps in, work dialogue, work conversation. And it's really hard to remove that from all aspects of life. But you have to be, again, intentional to make sure you don't talk about work at a specific time. But I would say that was probably the biggest donut for me, is taking that leap of faith of the unknown. And I have zero regrets.
What an interesting one. And it combines a couple of the buckets that you were talking about before. So is there a donut that you're working on right now? Is there something you're trying to take?
The big one is, again, our award show coming up, which is in April, the last weekend of April. And we have a lifetime achievement recipient who is a household name. And I can't quite say her name yet, because we're going to release that name sometime in December. But this person is a woman who really revolutionized sports. And I'm going to give you a hint: wrestling. She started a wrestling entertainment. And I'm going to leave it at that, because I gave you a lot of clues. And that's a big donut, because what an honor to just to celebrate her achievements of what she's done with women, what she's done with sports, and how many jobs she's created because of starting something that was an unknown back then. And that took a lot of courage. That took a lot of hard work and faith. And I just want to learn from her.
Ah, beautifully said. Well, I think it seems to me like people are such an important part of your world, of your career, of your personal life. And I think it often is for a lot of people, but it really does seem like you get a lot of inspiration and fuel by serving the community around you and building the community around you. So with that in mind, let's sprinkle some encouragement. There could be some people listening to this who they have a donut they want to take. Maybe they've started, maybe they're just thinking about moving towards it, but they're not sure what to do next. What advice would you give to those people?
What are you waiting for? Simple. What are you waiting for? And the reason why I say those words: life is so short. There's a saying, the days are long, the years are short. It's so true. It is so true, because we're about to go into the holiday season. Where did that happen, right? It's like it's November. I can't believe it's cold here in Washington State, and the seasons are just getting faster. And you might not have all the resources or all the answers to do that big goal or that big donut, but if you can take just one small step. Because if you expect to have different results and you're doing the same thing over and over and over, that's called insanity. If you're doing the same thing over and over, process that. You're doing the same thing over and over and you're expecting a totally different result. That is called insanity. So you have to do something different. And if you don't have all the answers, that's okay. You can research online. You can ask somebody who might have the knowledge. Take them out for coffee. Take them out for a donut meeting. But just do something, even just something small, to take that one step forward. The longer that you wait, you're going to regret going, whoa, was it fear that stopped me from going after my goals? Or was it me that's getting in my head about moving forward? Right? So you got to figure out like what is stopping you. And it's okay if you don't have all the answers. Guess what? I don't have all the answers. I face so many challenges every single day. But what I tell myself is to just keep moving forward. And if I don't have the answers, I'm going to find somebody more knowledgeable than me, and I'm going to ask them for wisdom and discernment.
Great advice. Great advice. And, you know, for those who are looking to see more of what you're up to, where can they find you? Where are there any links you want me to put in the description? How can they find you or the things that you're working on?
There are several places where you can find me. You can go to my website, maureenfrancisco.com. There is Instagram, Maureen M. Francisco. There is at the GBA's official on Instagram, or the Global Beauty Awards on Facebook. And there's also at Pageants Northwest Instagram and Facebook. There are various ways to find me, and I would love to just stay connected. And one last thought is give yourself grace, okay? Even though I keep pushing, like, go after your dreams, why wait? But also give yourself grace. You know, life is hard and everybody's going through something, and you sometimes actually you have a right to give yourself permission, to give yourself grace.
We need that reminder very often, right? It's so easy to get down on yourself if things aren't going the way you want or aren't moving as quickly as you want. You know, there's always challenges that come up, and grace is such an important feature of how we talk to ourselves. So thank you so much. And everybody be sure to take a look at all those resources that Maureen shared with us. If you liked this video, be sure to like and subscribe, because we have other inspirational interviews still to come. But in the meantime, Maureen, thank you so much for taking some time, for sharing your thoughts about what it's like to go after goals and what that experience has been for you. It has been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Melissa, and go after it.
Hey, everybody, you know what to do. Get inspiration, get donuts. Bye.